tell it to track that color. And now I have these two colored balls, and when I move them around, when I touch them together, he jumps out. And I'm controlling two 3D objects in 3D space with just, these colored balls. If you try to do this with joysticks, it's really hard to move things in 3D anyway. So, we're doing this really kind of hard thing, but it looks kind of trivial. And there's no real goal to this, but, it's kind of fun. You can make him fall off, and the plane always saves him because it was made for kids. But if he does little tricks, and if I come back here and I shake him, he loses his balance, And we know where the balls are because we're tracking them, and we know their size, so we know them in 3D. That's why I can bring him way up to the camera and give you this kind of effect. He does little flips. But I can also render the balls into the Z buffer, so the ball can occlude. You can see I'm blocking him with the ball. And I can also block, the ship with the ball. So that's a kind of a subtle effect that he's really kind of matted in the right spot with the ball. And
my name is Seymour.
Then, like I was talking about the lighting before, you can get that from the ball. So there's a lot of things just from two simple objects like this that you could do. And we had these two things, and we'd always have two kids walk up, and one would grab one and one would grab the other. And then they just sit there and bonk them back and forth, making them jump in and out. And so it seems really not that fun of a thing, but little kids just like to play. Little kids don't need a goal. They just want to play. They'll hide it behind their back and see what happens. That's all they want. They don't. So, it's a really, and during this demonstration, we really learned how much people love to see themselves on TV, especially kids. We thought, people would be kind of put off by seeing themselves on TV. Not at all. Turned out not to be the case. So switch back to the talk here. So like I said, yeah, people really like to see themselves on TV. Did we lose something here? Oh, there we go. So for the next 6 months, basically, I went back to R&D. I helped work on the camera design with OmniVision while the game team worked on the game. The original prototype we made was really technologically cool. It was awesome, but not fun. And we knew it wasn't fun when we tried it. When we'd show it to somebody, they'd be like especially kids would die to play it, but it wasn't fun. And we knew that. So they started over from scratch, focused on fun this time. And I think that was the biggest correct decision they made in the whole process, is that they just went for fun. And they came up with new design constraints around the camera. Instead of trying to make a traditional game that was like an adventure game or something, they switched to a camera game. And so the other thing that happened during this time is I was promoted to be the manager of the special projects group. So now, really, my part of the process with the EyeToy game is done. The research is done. The game team has all the technology. They can make the game. They know what they're supposed to do now. I supported them, but really, I'm done. And now I have a lot of other things to move on to, new research projects, things like that. It's a very hard thing to do this, but that's the reality of the way it worked. And so special projects, it's really, we research a lot of different areas. It's kind of the collection of everything else in our group. Special projects, it's really, we research a lot of different areas. It's kind of the collection of everything else in our group. And right now it's physical simulation, character animation, procedural things, and also all the man-machine interface work using mostly cameras and microphones, but we've done some force feedback and some inertial systems. So a lot of different stuff in the special projects group. So then we have a new boss. I have a new boss's boss. This time he's from Japan. And he's giving the keynote at the Game Developer Conference. And again, he wants to show the work. So same hall, same nasty spotlights, but this time 2 years more wisdom. So we get up there, the calibration's on the fly. I just hold that ball in the circle, hit the button, everything's done. It's all built into the demos. Works perfect. Demos are pretty mature, even though some people, one of them had never been shown publicly. It was pretty mature. So finally, I got it right. I got that monkey off my back. Everyone was so worried. Again, if that failed, what would we do? But it worked great, so I felt a lot better. So next I show now everything's going really good and there's a lot of positive vibe, and I show it again at the Game Developer Conference and say, you should all start working on this. There's going to be a camera. And they have their schedules, their deadlines, their reality of so all the third parties are still like, it's really neat and we'll believe it when we see it kind of thing. You know, it's unfortunate, but that's the way the world works. So I was frustrated, but at least this time I could give them a sample camera, not the final camera, but a sample camera and some sample code, and they could try it out. And one of the really big things that happened at this point is Sony opened up all this technology and all the source code to third parties to use. So we completely opened up everything we'd been working on to our own game developers, not other consoles, but ours. So anybody could first, not other consoles, but ours. So anybody could make a camera-based game using our technology now. And that was a big step, especially for our company to do. So the next stage is shown in Electronic Entertainment Expo, which is a trade show this time, not an academic conference. And the European group showed it, and it was really well received by the European press. They showed it in their own area. This is an American trade show. Europe has a small booth there. No coverage by America at all. Just basically only the European newspapers covered it, and it started getting tons of PR in Europe, but really nothing in America. It's really amazingly strange that it's still that non-global, but it was. Since it's a European product, the product teams in Europe, they covered it even more. They're excited about innovation coming out of Europe. Next stage, in London, they show these games, kind of some of the early prototypes of the games I showed at the beginning, at this thing called the PlayStation Experience, which is open to the public. And so people were just coming in off the street and trying it out. So you get a really good focus test this way. And it turned out that people, there's all the new PlayStation games there are all around on consoles people can try out. And EyeToy had lines a half hour long with people just waiting to try it out and play it. And like not just, the hardcore people. You have moms and dads and little kids and their grandparents all waiting in line to try it out. And some of the hardcore people too. So if you see that little set of pictures at the bottom, if you show this is our demographic for the video game industry to the marketing people, and this is what we're going to hit, you catch their interest a lot because that's a lot wider demographic than the typical game would get. So this was the turning point for the marketing people, really. They suddenly like, wow, this could be a big product. Because it was the turning point for the marketing people, really. They suddenly like, wow, this could be a big product because it doesn't stay in our normal spot. So next stage shown at the same trade show in America again. This time the American booth has four stations showing it, and it's part of our press event where we have this giant thing with all the press inside. You can see this is the president of our company over there in the corner here, and that's me giving the demo up there. And this is another big place where it finally hit America, really, that this is going to be a real thing. We really benefited. There's a thing called the PlayStation Portable, or PSP, and that was also announced at the same press event, and that was picked up by all the major outlets. So our story rode with that story all the time. So we got tons of exposure that way, and that was really fortuitous. We won the Best Hardware Award and the Best Puzzle Trivia Parlor Game Award at that show, which surprised everybody because they didn't even know it existed, really, in America. So then in July, it launches in Europe. And in the third week, it reaches the #1 on the charts in the UK and Europe and knocks off Tomb Raider, which is kind of like a huge franchise in the game industry. So that, again, like sent all these shockwaves through the system. Like, EyeToy knocked off Tomb Raider? How can that be? But so the fact that happened, there was a really great marketing campaign in Europe. They put it in Big Brother, if you've ever seen that TV show, Big Brother. They had all these people on TV playing it, so people saw it before they ever got to try it themselves. So there was already this following behind it before people could even buy it. And then in August, I got invited to go on The View, a daytime TV program with Meredith Vieira and Barbara Walters and stuff. So this is kind of just an interesting thing that happened to me. I became